Hello, I'm going to do something a little bit different today. So I've come to the halfway point for my deck, so I thought it'd be nice to just do a little bit of a check-in, talk about what I think's worked so far, what I've found more challenging, and what I feel I've learned from the whole process. So I was thinking about what's been my favourite cards to make for this deck, and that was quite an easy question to answer, or even, which I think have worked the best. And my favourites have definitely been the queens. So here we have Babushka, Queen of Wands, Queen of Cups, and we have Queen of Swords, Leave It Open. And I feel like the designs for these, they're quite simple, which seems to have worked best with this deck, actually. I've started to go away from the more complex kind of collage type designs that I was making. And I think I've sort of come to the conclusion, as long as I have like a strong photo and some strong colours, it works really well. But I think always knew this was going to be one of my favourite. I love the queens anyway. They're very distinct personalities to me. And I think Kate Bush often explores lots of different personalities, but especially like the female archetypes. She's really good and strong at that. So I feel like this was always going to be quite an easy cards to make. I think one of the cards that surprised me, because it's changed my attitude to the card, was the Nine of Swords with Experiment 4. I think with all the swords I've noticed that they're very creative and there's quite a lot of humour in them. They come across as such dark cards when we see them, but there is more to them. If we can get past that nightmarish quality and we can realise how much of our minds create their own anxieties and things, and maybe get a little bit of detachment. I think that's what's great about humour, is it gives us some detachment from our suffering sometimes. So this card now just, it makes me smile. It makes me realise when I'm over-exaggerating, when I'm catastrophizing, and I just really enjoyed making it and putting those scratches in, and the personality that came through from that card. The card, I think, that made me reassess the most, or that really made me think deeply about it in making the card and maybe change my view, was another Swords card, was the Ten of Swords, which when I made the video, I think I said at the time it was because this is my birth card. I'm a Gemini, and I feel again Ten of Swords is one of those cards which is seen very negatively, but this song is particularly A Night of the Swallow. I think it balances very well that tension in the Ten of Swords between something coming to an end, which I think is possibly the relationship in this song, and then something pushing forward, a new beginning, which I think is what now especially is what the Ten of Swords is all about. It is an end and also beginning at the same time. So those are the things I've really enjoyed doing. In terms of challenges, as I said, I feel I've started to go away from making the cards too complicated. So sorry if I just got some more down here. But certainly when I first started, I think my first card I shared was the Hierophant, which I still really like, but some of the early cards became very busy, and so I've gone to more of a bold and thinking, yeah, simple is, I'm not an artist, and simple is best, and that the song itself adds an interesting layer. I don't need to do too much. In terms of other challenges. Well, let me go to the positives first, and then I'll do the challenges. So, in terms of doing the whole deck, I think, as I said in my introductory video, my part of my motivation was I had, kind of got really into tarot again. I started to read tarot about 15 years ago and only had a couple of decks. And then I renewed my interest. And I think, as often what happens with people when they renew their interest in something, and especially happens with me because I'm neurodivergent, so I tend to have a really deep dive on stuff, was that I was watching lots of unboxing videos. I was buying lots of decks and then not really using them. And I think tarot became a shopping experience for me. And once I'd committed to making this deck, I thought, well, I'm not going to buy any more. And at first that was quite hard, but I reminded myself, well, I'm making my own deck. I don't need to buy anymore, and there were certainly a few decks that came out at first that were tempting. But then, honestly, as I got into this process, as I felt an enjoyment of connecting and working out what I thought of the card and how I related to the archetype and what the card meant to me, and the enjoyment of choosing the songs and everything, it felt like my interest in the tarot became a lot deeper. It was less about shopping. Honestly, that just fell away. That, I don't know. It's been months since I've last looked at an unboxing video. I'm not really that interested anymore because I don't have the desire really to buy any more decks. And I'm so enjoying the creating. And I think, for me personally, however the end results look like objectively, this is such an enjoyable process that whatever deck I buy, even if I bought the most amazing deck, is never going to have the same impact for me as making this whole process of making my own tarot. So that has been really positive. The other thing that I hadn't quite expected to such an extent, even though I kind of said it, was how vital it was about Kate Bush and about her as a creative role model for me, and about her encouraging me to step into my own authenticity, especially, I think, as someone who is autistic and has masked for practically all her life, that for me to try and work out who I really am without that masking, and which meant embracing again my special interests, which would be something that I would have hidden from people and felt very protective of. So to step in and step towards that, even though I was doing something very niche and which most people wouldn't be interested in, it felt a really important thing for me, and almost like Kate Bush was my ally. And when I was writing, that I would then come back and lots of the things or challenges I would face, I would honestly think, well, what would Kate Bush do? Which probably sounds a bit mad, but I would think, well, would Kate Bush not send out this poem? Would Kate Bush work on it a bit longer? Would Kate Bush let a rejection stop her? Those sort of questions, and all about giving me confidence to step into who I am. And I would say again that if you're creative, that is such a valuable thing to do. Find some role model. It doesn't have to be. I think it helped in a way that it wasn't someone who was a poet and not someone, but someone that was I looked up to since a young age, so very much felt part of me. And yeah, I suppose it's also about reconnecting, wasn't it, with my childhood self. So both those things, they sound quite small when I just say them, but I think psychologically they have been huge. And if you're at all tempted to make your own deck just for your own use, I would say you will feel a big kind of benefit from it. Now, in terms of challenges, I think I realised about 12 weeks in that the whole thing of doing one card every week, although that felt good for the rhythm of everything else I want to do. So it feels good for, I have to be careful. I have to be careful not to take on too many things, or I do get overwhelmed. And I have to prioritise my writing. But at the same time, I wanted to do this. And I also thought, well, I think of it as a marathon and something that's going to take 18 months. And then, that's an opportunity to learn and to change more through that process. So I like doing it just once a week. I think it works well. But I think as a viewer, it doesn't. I think as a viewer, I can see, it's too much of a marathon for a viewer. I think for a viewer, it would have been a lot better if I just done a few videos or did them, every day, or built up a momentum, or, so I do think, and that part of that is me, when I create something, I've realised now that when I create something, I'm not really in the mindset to share it. And obviously in this, I have been creating it while I've been sharing it. And there has been some discomfort for me with that, because ideally I would have created all this for 18 months and then gone to the videos and then shared. But I was scared that if I did that, it just wouldn't happen. I wouldn't ever end up sharing it, or I'd give up. And there have been times where I have wanted to give up because it's quite a task, and sometimes I think, do I really, I don't know which card I want to do this week. I don't know what I want to say. But I would say that as soon as I do the videos, I actually feel really enthusiastic about it. But I would have done it differently. I would maybe YouTube is the wrong platform for this. It's so niche, it's so odd, it's so strange. I've done nothing to try and promote it, as you can probably tell. And I think maybe, it could have been like a Substack or something else. YouTube has become so infested. Perhaps that is the right word, infested with AI. It's really, it's sad. And I think even the non-AI stuff is now, some of it is so polished and feels a little bit artificial. So I've got to the point where I think, even if practically no one watches my channel, even if it's very messy and poorly edited and, everything really, it's not polished, that is a counterbalance to all that AI fakery that is around. And actually, that I think there is some value to that, even if what I'm creating is also a bit too niche and people aren't interested. So I am going to carry on, and I think I will carry on with the same pace. I am going to, at the end, I thought I will get it professionally printed, just for my own satisfaction, really, and just to see. It'll be a little bit, smaller, or quite a bit smaller. But I'll enjoy that, and that will feel like my reward for having finished it, I think. But you know, I'll only do a few copies. I'll only be for myself. I might give some to my family or friends. To be honest, I can't really think of that many people who are into tarot and into Kate Bush. Oh, I need to find them between now and then. But I think that will be a nice fitting end. I am looking, there's some cards I'm looking forward to doing the Queen of Pentacles. I'm looking forward to doing the Lovers, but I think that's going to be my very last card because it's one of my favourite Kate Bush songs. And it's one of my favourite tarot cards because, as I said, I'm a Gemini. And I think once you get deep with that card and deep with the archetype and think of it, not just, you know, the title, the Lovers, but think of it more as about choice, about duality and stuff. I think it's a really fascinating card. And this, you know, I'm talking about archetypes and symbols and stuff, but these are things that we are around us all the time. And all the time I am probably writing about these things, even if I'm not doing it consciously. So it has been great to think really and really reflect on these different things. Right, so I hope that's all I needed to say. I wrote down some notes. I haven't referred to them. But I hope I've remembered everything. And I'm going to now turn the camera off and I'm going to do a flip through just of all the cards. I'll try and make it nice and quick. Just so you can see what they look like all together. And, you know, if you've been watching and you've watched all this and you're going to watch the flip through, please do. And, you know, maybe watch some of my other videos as well if this is your first one. Okay, let's go up. Let's get on with that flip through. Okay. Hello. I am just going to do this flip through. I'm going to do it quite quickly. I've put them in order, but I will say which each card is because there are going to be big gaps and anything I can think of for particular cards, but I won't do it slowly because otherwise it's going to take forever. And maybe that will be for the end to do like a really grand flip through. Anyway, so here we have the Fool, the Magician, 2 Magician cards because actually I really enjoyed doing that card. High Priestess, and we have a bit of a gap. We've got, actually I've got the Empress drying at the moment, so she's going to be there soon. This is the Hierophant. This is the Chariot, all that messy silver foil, which I'm not sure about now. Here is the Hermit. How to be invisible, of course. I don't think there could have really been any other choice for that. This is Justice. Hanged Man, suspended in Gaffer. Bertie, of course, in Here Comes the Sunshine, and it's the Sun. So quite a few, that's all the major arcana. Now we're going to the Ace of Wands, 2 of Wands, 4 of Wands, see all those red colours, 6 of Wands, 8 of Wands, Knight of Wands, that's the Wuthering Heights, Queen of Wands, there's Babushka, lots of lovely fiery energy with those ones. Now we're definitely at Cups and we're at Water, so we've got 2 Cups, 4 of Cups, very sad looking Kate Bush for 5 of Cups, Could Never Be Mine, one of my favourite songs. And then this is from Deeper Understanding, also from Sensual World, which is 7 of Cups. 9 of Cups, Symphony in Blue. Page of Cups. There's that complex Queen of Cups. Mother stands for comfort. I put them in the wrong order, sorry. That's Queen of Cups. But first, of course, I should have had Knight of Cups. Hounds of Love. And then we have that King of Cups, a little bit distant. Ace of Swords. So we're going into the swords energy. So lots of darkness, but a little bit playful too. Three of Swords, and so is love. With the original sad lyrics, life is sad, and so is love. Six of Swords. Actually, this is one of my favourites. I really love this photo of Kate Bush. It really embraces that energy, I think. Seven of Swords, which is Rantan Waltz, one I've done recently. Nine of Swords, which I love doing so much. Knight of Swords, which I didn't like doing because it was so tied up with war and stuff. I found that a really difficult video to make, actually. Queen of Swords, which again, she was a lot of fun. King of Swords has got to be done. And then we've got Ace of Pentacles. This is that snowflake. Four of Pentacles, the dreaming idea about boundaries. And then I like this, actually. This is also one of my favourites, just because that idea of someone helping you, giving you a leg up, a support, and that Five of Pentacles space. Seven of Pentacles, which is really about embracing failure, I think, and not being put off by it. 10 of Pentacles. Just that feeling of home and also kind of nostalgia, loss. Oh, I've got a rogue one at the end here. Obviously didn't put that on. This is the King of Pentacles. It's based on Dalius, grumpy old Dalius. And the Ten of Swords, which wanted to be at the end here, but it should have been earlier on, of course. And that's Knight of the Swallow. So that's my flip flu. And yeah, next time you see that, we'll have the whole set. Thanks as always for watching. Goodbye.